Better Call Saul Season 6 Episode 5 Ending Explained. This episode provided a lot of building upon the foundations that we've come to see be presented to us in the first part of the season. With an equal distribution across the 3 acts, this episode contained suspense and mystery. But what did it all mean? Well, let's find out. Here is Better Call Saul Season 6 Episode 5 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The episode opened up with a moment that would be connected to the very end of the episode. We saw a side rule being put inside Lou's side with a German message engraved, that when translated it read as "Love your boys," but we'll come back to this at the end. After this moment we cut to the first scene that really summed up the tone and mood of the episode, the fear of the unknown. Following Mike's conversation with Kim in last week's episode, where he mentioned how he had people watching both herself and Jimmy due to the fact that Lalo was still alive and could reach out to them, we saw her paranoid and checking the locks on the door, unable to sleep and placing her chair under the handle to prevent anybody from breaking in. Jimmy got awoken by it, but we saw her be dishonest about the fact that Lalo could still be alive. Jimmy even mentioned how he's glad that he's dead, but little does he know that he most certainly isn't. Everybody seems to be preparing for Lalo's return other than Jimmy, which is a little concerning. So I think it will definitely come as a shock when Lalo does encounter the pair again. Another element of fear that we saw in this episode was through Gus. You could see the sheer mental impact that the thought of Lalo returning and not knowing what he was going to do to him when they were to encounter each other was definitely taking its toll. We witnessed him becoming more susceptible to noises, as we saw in the restaurant when the trays dropped. He's also constantly checking that he has protection on him. He's developed compulsive tendencies such as straightening up the pen and cleaning the bathroom, which makes me think he has an element of OCD forcing him to do these things. And finally, we also saw him hide a weapon upon a pile of rocks at the bottom of the room that Mike showed him. I think next week we could potentially see Gus deteriorate even further mentally, as it's been on a downward spiral since episode 1 of the season. So I'm intrigued to see. Tapping into the fear of the unknown is always far greater than what's right in front of you. And this season of the show is doing a really good job at translating that across the screen. Throughout the episode, we saw a lot get built upon from the past. We witnessed Jimmy open up his new practice and start practicing under the name of Saul Goodman again. Francesca, who hasn't appeared in the show for a long while, made a reappearance and took her old job back as Jimmy's assistant. He offered to pay her double than what she was currently getting paid, and then it simply became an offer that she just couldn't refuse. So I think we'll definitely see more of her as the season goes on. We didn't see Jimmy delve into any specific clients this episode, but we did see him go to see a potential client, which was Mr. Ward, who was in fact Howard in disguise. I thought that was quite a comedic moment and a nice touch. We saw Cliff Main approach Howard about the incident in the previous episode, where he threw the person out of the car, and he revealed that it occurred during a meeting with Kim, which led Howard to want to meet Jimmy and settle the score in a boxing match. It looked like Jimmy wasn't going to take it up, but he did and ended up on the floor of the ring. Howard claimed to have stated that things were done between the pair of them, and went on to say, "You've mistaken my kindness for weakness. I'd like to think that tonight makes a difference. I'd like to think that tonight will end." But it's clear to see that it's not, due to the fact that Howard now has somebody following Jimmy, which means both Jimmy and Kim are being followed by 2 separate PIs, for completely different things. This could mean things could potentially get exposed about the connection to the cartel when they do make a reappearance. Or this could actually be part of Jimmy's grand plan and something he wants all along, as we didn't really see it develop on much more in this episode. The only real development was in Kim meeting with a former colleague to get the name of a retired judge who is working on the Sandpiper case. In the final few scenes of the show, it was stolen by one man, and that was Lalo Salamanca. We finally got to see him again, but this time in a German bar where he was claiming to be a man named Ben from New Mexico. This tied back to the German song that we heard being played at the start of the episode. He mentioned that he was from New Mexico because he wanted to capture the attention of Marguerite, who was sitting in the bar and was a widow to Werner, who we saw in the show a few seasons ago before he was killed by Mike. Lalo made her feel comfortable enough to open up a conversation with her about her deceased husband, where she spoke about a construction project that he was working on where he saved some of the people he was working with. After this, Lalo then walked her home as he felt he got the information he needed for that specific time. She claimed how she had worked the next day and he walked off. It made me think that he's definitely going to be back the next day when she wasn't there, and he was. He broke into the house where it looked as though he was looking for some information, maybe about the construction project. But it was here where we saw the side rule that we saw at the start of the episode catch his eye, and he picked it up, before managing to sneak out of the window as Marguerite returned and was suspicious that something was going on. With that, it faded to black and the episode concluded. We don't know what Lalo found, what he took, or even if he got what he was after, but we know he spared Marguerite, which is something I was surprised about. A lot was built upon in this episode. It was one that contained suspense and tension and tapped into the fear of the unknown for all of the characters on screen. Other than Lalo, he is the predator out for his prey. The others are just patiently waiting on the defense, which is a tactic that I don't think will necessarily work against Lalo Salamanca. I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode, and I imagine we're going to see something erupt soon, as we've not had an action-packed episode since episode 3. What did you think of this episode? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.